Hey guys, welcome to Coomer TV, doing another Magic video. Not done one for 2014. I've actually been playing a lot of Magic. I haven't done any videos recently, as you probably know if you're actually still subscribed to this channel. Really just due to work and other bits and pieces, and I got bored of 2013 to be honest, and started playing a lot of LOL. But I have been playing a wee bit of 2014, and I do enjoy it. I think it's a better Magic than the previous ones. I'll go into that a little bit more when I start talking about the deck, but I thought I would do a little deck guide, or how I am particularly playing one of the decks, and it's Enter the Dracomancer. A few things to say beforehand is that when I first started playing I had no idea how to run this deck and I thought it was absolutely pants, but I played a few games against actually Wingspan. I say a few, three, and he completely trounced me in all times, but he seemed to have confidence this deck was quite good. And I'd also watched Daishio talk about it a little bit in one of his early videos when he was talking about this deck. So without further ado, let's go into it. The first thing that I would like to say is the big difference between this and the previous Magics is that I love is the control of mana. You get to control how many mana is in your deck. Now I didn't pay any attention to that when I was first building the deck, and I think it's very important, especially this deck. So we'll start off with the cards we've got in it. We've got our Terraphoric Expanse. Basically this deck's a mana ramp deck. It's not quite mana rampy as the other one, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a very, very strong mana ramp deck, and that's what you're looking for. You don't get a lot of ramp out of it, but it's ways to get hold of mana. So obviously you want Terraphoric Expanse, means you can choose whichever the one that you want. Moving on, we'll move this to cost just for the sake of it. So I have two of these little dudes in here, 1/1s, they're just blockers, that's what they're there for. I like the fact that when they die another 1/1 comes on, so they're just there to be thrown in front of things. Or later on for some of the creatures that have the Devour, but mostly just as blockers. So Banefire, obviously got to keep this in, 1 cost and then do power to a creature or player, 5 or more it cannot be countered, etc, etc, great card. Savage Twister, this is an okay card. I mean, I think some people think it's probably good because I mean it's a 2 cost, it does loads of damage, but it does damage to all creatures, it's not just his, so it's a board clear. You know, early on you've got lots of 1/1s down and then you just want to pump it full of mana and clear the board, can get rid of some big creatures. Moving on, more just, as I say, dragon fodder, that's what they're there for. 1/1 blockers thrown into the things. I currently run 3 of the Dragonspeak or Shamans. Obviously this is one of the main bulk cards because it makes your dragons cost 2 less. Pretty decent card, run 3 of them. I mean, it can get picked off by spells, not so much as it did in the previous one, I think 2012, where the dragon deck, it used to get picked off pretty much instantly. I find that this card doesn't get picked off as much in this version, so it's a good card. Moving on, I do run this Jude Battle Mage. I'm not really sure about him, he's okay. It's a 3 cost 2/2 blocker again early on, but you do have the ability to chuck down little tokens as well, so sometimes he can be reasonably useful. You know, he's only a 3 cost, so why not? So run 3 of the Borderland Rangers, yet again as I'm talking about this deck, not so much mana ramp, but just a way to get mana into my hand basically with this guy. Go and pick a card. So, moving on. Tutor Charm, interesting card, it does 2 damage, another kind of board clear, especially against the humans, the white deck, against the undead deck as well. Plus against blue deck you can exile all his cards so you can't go back into his graveyard and pull them out, or you can make some dude stronger, which is kind of cool against the green deck, you know, doing a double block or something and then just throwing this down on top of it to trick him. That's kind of what this card for is. Bummer it's a 3 cost of all the different manas, but generally you shouldn't have too much of a problem getting hold of that. So I run 2 of them. I run 2 of the Maelstrom Pulse, destroys target creature, blah blah blah. Onto the mana ramp. So your first mana ramp, obviously cultivate, search for 2 lands, 1 in your hand and 1 into the battlefield. So I run 4 of them because you want as much mana as possible. This gets pretty cool, it's a 4/4/5/5, it can't be countered. I mean generally you'll place this and it might get popped the following turn, but I do like it. Obviously when running Board Brain Elf, Blood-Brained Elf, Haste Cascade, always handy to throw this down, especially with all the low costs, you can maybe get a Cultivate out of it. Maelstrom Pulse, one of your Forest dudes, Borderland Ranger dudes, it's a pretty good card in this deck. Ogre Battle Driver, 3/3 for 4, but this thing here, the +2 and gains haste until the end of turn, really good later on as you start dropping down dragons or tokens, or just it gives you extra power, so I do like that card. Explosive Vegetation, some of the bonus cards. This is another mana ramp, this throws down 2 lands onto the battlefield, pretty cool in this deck. So we're starting to move on to our slightly bigger cards. As you can see down here, I run 15 3-cost cards and then 5 4-cost cards. We're now on to the bigger ones. I run 0 5-costs, but going that later on. So Broadbait Dragon, it's basically 2 4/4 flyers for 6. So it's a pretty cool card, you can't complain about that. This card, now this card itself as a creature is not the best. It's a 5/1 with haste. The 1 is kind of nasty. But you run this card purely for the swamp and the mountain cycle. That's what I see this card as. I see this as ways of getting mana. It's not the best way to get mana because obviously it costs you 2 power and you put the mana into your hand instead on the battlefield. But just with this way this deck works, it's just a really good way of getting hold of mana. And then later on when you do have your mana ramped up, because you should do get to 6, no problem, this can be thrown down as, you know, just to throw it in there trying to damage. It's just an extra creature, same as the one we'll get to later on afterwards. Okay, one of the best cards in the deck I think. Dragon Broodmother, fly-in, 4/4, but at the start of each upkeep you put a 1/1 red and green creature token on the battlefield with Devour 2. So you can just start snacking on each dragons and you eventually can get some really serious power on the battlefield. Or generally as you'll start with is you'll be just dropping 1/1s as chomp blockers or for fodder later on. Really strong card. So we'll run both of them. Dragon Lair Spider, this is just a cool blocker plus the insects, and yet again it's these 1/1 creatures for Devour for some of the big things. This has reach, it's really good at blocking flyers, which I like in this deck. This is just an annoying creature for them to deal with, so I really do like it in this deck. Yeah, again, here we go, the Valiant Randon, it's 6, is that how I say that? Ranent. 6/3 for 6, very expensive, but yeah, again we're running it for the mountain cycle and the forest cycle, just extra ways to get mana. So that's how I see these 4 cards, they're just ways to get mana in this deck. So, and then later on, if need be, you can throw it down and it can be quite a cool creature, so that's why I like it. So we're now hitting the big creatures, and I do run a lot of them. I have 12 6+ creatures in here, obviously as you can see with these ones and all these, but as I said, they're mana ramped, so they're not, I don't really count them as 6 costs. Flame Blast Dragon, 5/5 for 6, but it can do damage when it attacks. Pretty cool card, can take care of big things, nice card. You've only got 1 Volcanic Dragon in here, it's a bit expensive, it's a 6 cost for a 4/4, but it does have haste. So it's just and flying, and in this deck that's kind of cool. You want as many flyers as possible. Oop, get back in here. Big Dragon, obviously our legendary creature, flying haste, take control of all dragons, quite cool against the blue deck. If he takes a dragon off you, you can bring this guy on and you just get your dragons back, really cool. And then our final big dude, Hellkite Overlord, obviously our big 8/8. So that's the 60 cards we're currently running. There's obviously 3 more cards still due out for this deck. I believe one of them's a Maelstrom Pulse, the other one's some other little dragon, I think it's a 4/4 for 4, but it goes back to your hand at the end of the turn, I'm not sure. And then one of them's Sneak Attack, which is, I think it allows you to cast a creature. I'm not sure how it works, I just know that you have to sacrifice at the end of it, but I'm not sure if I'll be putting them into the deck or not. We'll have to wait and see. I was kind of hoping they'd be out before I've done this, but I kind of want to get this video done and put up again and see how it goes, because I want to start posting at least some videos. I do work a little bit more, but I have got a wee bit extra more time recently, so let's start chucking them up. So, onto the mana, I have 4 swamps. I don't think you need to run any more. I mean, you only, the thing with this deck, to confirm, as you can see, with the exception of the mountains, and I think the 4, hold on, this guy here, everything only costs 1. So all the swamps, you only need 1 for each of them. You don't need a 2-cost swamp. There's not 2 swamps needed to cast anything. So you really don't need to run that many swamps. And as I said, with the amount of ways of getting hold of mana in this deck, your Terraphoric Expanse, your Cultivates, your Borderland Ranger, your Explosive Vegetation, your obviously Ignugus Pouncer, or however you pronounce that, no idea, and our Valiant Ranent. Loads of ways to get the particular mana you want. So as you can see, I run what? I'm running 13, 20 mana cards in this deck. 20, so I'm only running 20. I mean, I think people recommend you should run more, but I really don't find myself getting mana blocked that often. The one time that will happen is if I don't generally start with a forest. This deck, because the way the ramp works, you generally want a forest, especially for your Cultivates and your Borderland Ranger, so you don't really want to start an opening hand without a forest if you can avoid it. So that's the actual currently 60 deck, so let's see the cards we're not running and explain why we're not running them. 2 Terraphoric Expanses out. I'd rather have creatures and everything. I was running 4 originally, but I think I put 2 of these Tusk Boys back in. I just liked early on having at least something to throw out there as blockers, so that's why I'm running that. I mean, you've got these enhancements as well, which, let's have a look, yeah, the creature has haste +1, you know, blah blah, 2 costs. I'd rather have a creature for that. This one I was running for a while, it's okay, +1/+1 trample, and then it can come back on if a creature dies, or what is it? A creature with convert mana 6 cost enters the battlefield, you may return this from your graveyard and attach that creature. Yeah, it was okay, but I'd still rather have a creature or something for it. It's not particularly great. This is an awful card, just shocking. I didn't realise it was only artifacts, but it can only destroy artifacts, not enhancements, which, you know, I think if it was enhancements then it might be worth putting in, but artifacts, how many of the decks really run artifacts? So you're never going to use this, waste of space. I wish I could run 2 more of these, but as I said, there's other cards in there, so we'll only run 2. We don't need 4 of this Shaman Speaker, I don't think, so we don't run that. Consume Strength, always okay. You know, it's basically just a kill card, instant kill, you know, kill a creature. Could maybe get 2 because you can block and make your blind kill something else, but I've got enough removal with the Maelstrom Pulse, just Defeat and Banefire, not to really particularly worry about this. So far, yeah, again, it's removal, but it's reliant on you having creatures. You generally, the problem with this is a 3 cost, but this won't really come into action until you hit your big dudes. You gotta remember that, with the exception, all your 4 costs are pretty low strength. So, I mean, you're not really going to have anything big till turn 6 anyway. So by that time, you know, if you're holding 2 of these or 1 of these in your hand, they're just a waste. So I just didn't find it useful at all to run that card. Not the way to get rid of it. Not running, I'm only running 2 Maelstrom Pulse explained. Hellkite Hatchlings, 4 cost 2/2 with Devour, great, but again relies on you having something for it to devour. If not, then it's not particularly wonderful. So 4 cost, nah, get rid of it, pointless. Crucible of Fire, 4 cost, but it's an enhancement. Do you really want to be wasting that and putting that in the battlefield? Yes, it makes all your dragons extremely hard, but nah, I'm not a particularly big fan of it. It just 4 cost, you know, turn 4 costs. I'd rather be getting this guy down, rather be getting my Explosive Vegetation. You know, there's way better 4 cost cards. I mean, if you hit turn 4 and you want to be casting that, that means you're waiting until turn 5 to cast something big, so I'd rather not. So that's why it's not there. Gorgorer Worm, 5 cost, 5/5 with Devour. Yeah, again, I think there's like Daisho was one of the people talking about you can maybe run this deck with a Devour style, but I don't think that works, and I just don't think this card works on this deck. You know, just 5/5. You know, the Torrent of Fire deals damage equal to the highest converted mana cost on permanent control. Yeah, again, you know, yes, it's a good card to do damage, but you're waiting to have something big out in the battlefield, so. You know, turn 5, if you've got something big out the battlefield, you'd be swinging in with it doing damage, so what do you want that for? I mean, this is, I suppose, 3 mountain cost, 6 flying haste, Devour again, relying on you having creatures. I mean, it does have high haste, but it still relies on you having chomp blockers and stuff on the battlefield, don't like it. Dragon Roast, this card's debatable, because I have seen people use it and it can be quite effective, because it's 7 cost and you can put a 5/5 flying token on the battlefield, so you can just start pumping dragons out every turn. But I'd rather be casting creatures. It's an enhancement, so you're casting this and you're not getting anything till the following turn, and then imagine if you have 6 mana and you don't hit your 7th mana, then you're not going to be casting this, you could just sit there doing nothing. Seems a bit of a waste. Sangreet Surge, target creature gets +3/+3 and gains double strike till end of turn for 6 cost, you know? It just seems a waste for a 6 cost card, just basically just killing something. It relies on you maybe having something strong that's going to block, blah 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 blah. This guy's actually not too bad. I was running him for a while, but yet again, this relies on you, the amplifier relies on you having dragons in hand. If you've got 2 in your hand, obviously he's going to get +6 and maybe an 11/11. And that makes it really, really strong. But if you don't have dragons in your hand, then you know, then you cast this, and then this skill is completely pointless because you've got no counters on it. So I preferred having the other dragons, so I just took him back out. Another worm, 7 cost, but when it dies, you put a 6/6 black worm on the battlefield. Really not sure about this card. At the beginning of your upkeep, form of the dragon deals 5 damage to target creature player. At the beginning of each end step, your life total becomes 5. So, you know, means you, unless he kills you, but having your life down to 5 creatures without flying can't attack you, so it's a 7 cost enhancement. It's not a creature, and I'd rather have a creature. So there we go, guys. That's how I am running with the Enter the Dracomancer. As I've said, I've had quite a lot of good success with it. I don't find, as I said, the ramp too problematic. I get my mana that I want, and I get up to the 6 quite quickly, where I can start pumping out all of these big cards. And as I said, they just link in nicely with small cards like this guy, you know, you've got clears. I just think this is a really enjoyable deck to play. So hopefully I'll post up some games. I'm going to probably just record a game right after this and we'll get that uploaded. So this is me back doing a couple of videos. As I said, not sure how many. Hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Kuber TV, signing out.